Hey, howdy, folks. Graham Nolan here, doing a afternoon stream. Today's a big day for Batman fans because the Batman movie, I guess, is coming out today. Or maybe it came out yesterday, but most people will go on the weekends. Hold on a second. Let me get a light on here. If you'd seen my Facebook post recently, Chuck and I finally got some credit in a Batman movie, in this movie. It's sort of ironic that, Dark Knight Rises featured Bane, which Chuck and I created, and we got no credit for it. The guy who was the, dog wrangler got credit. The guy who served the food to the crew got credit, but the guys who created Bane didn't get credit. So I don't know if it's a different policy now, but I'm happy, that they did include us here. And I was curious as to what it was. I have not seen this movie yet. I was invited to the New York premiere, but I chose not to go. Too many restrictions in that city for my taste. So I haven't seen it. However, people who have seen it told me that the reason we got the credit was the elements of the Penguin. I didn't even know the Penguin was in this movie. I thought it was stuff we had done with the Riddler. So I started looking into it and seeing what they were doing with the Penguin and, what elements they may have used. And it's pretty clear. They used the new version of the Penguin, which first appeared in this comic right here, Detective 683. This came about because we had wrapped up Nightfall, Night Quest, and Night's End, and we were going to be starting to do standalone stories again. And we were at one of the conferences, one of the Bat conferences in, I believe it was the Mohonk Mountain retreat on the Hudson River. And I think it was the last day we were having dinner. And Chuck and I were talking to our editors, and we wanted to start using some classic characters again. And we decided we were going to use the Penguin. And I had some ideas about the Penguin because I've always enjoyed him. I love the Burgess Meredith Penguin, but it was a new era, and I just thought that the guy in the tuxedo and waddling around, with penguins and stuff seemed a little out of place. So I came up with some ideas to model him after Sidney Greenstreet and like Caspar Gutman from the Maltese Falcon, and put him in a dinner jacket, have him be a crime boss and be surrounded by beautiful women, even though he's this kind of trollish dude. Let's surround him with beautiful women because he's got money and power. And Chuck came up with the Iceberg Lounge element as to his base of power type of thing. And I was going through my files recently when we heard about the credits and the movie coming out and all that kind of stuff. And I found something very interesting. My first designs and my notes for the Penguin. And it seems to go hand in hand with what they're doing in this movie. I said, physically, he's a cross between FDR and Sidney Greenstreet and Robert Morley. Robert Morley's an old actor, too. Kind of a weird-looking dude. Extremely fastidious, play up the neat angle, loves birds, keeps lots around his pets. Perhaps a former hitman who has risen to the top of a syndicate. Extremely intelligent and well-read, quotes from classic literature, deals in expensive stolen goods. Good-looking women hang on him because of his dough and his power. That was sent off to Darren Vincenzo. I want to say it was 1999, 1998, something like that. when this character first, came about. So when I was designing him, I wanted to give him that dinner coat, that kind of high-end nightclub owner look. Not the slovenly kind of Tony Soprano thing, but yeah, like I said, a cross between Casper Gutman and the other character, Sidney Greenstreet, played Ferrara in Casablanca. And so he's well dressed. He's managing this club and everything, and he's fencing and dealing in gangland stuff in the background, behind the scenes. So what makes him interesting is on the surface, he's a legitimate businessman, but what he's doing behind the scenes, the police can't touch him, but Batman knows, obviously. And so that was the premise from what we wanted to do with this guy moving forward. Design wise, like I said, I wanted him to have that kind of nightclub owner look, like a Toots Shore maybe. And I wanted to differentiate him. I didn't want the top hat thing had to go. So I wanted him. I remember seeing pictures of these penguins, and they're not the emperor penguins. They're these little penguins, and they have these little feathers that stick out the back of their head, these little tufts. And I thought that would be a cool visual symbol to give him. And so that was part of my sketch right here. So here we are. Here's the first one. And I think it's sort of interesting that I found this picture here of Colin Ferrel sitting in the chair, very much like my penguin. Obviously, he's not, but he has the dinner jacket. He's got the dinner jacket and the bow tie, even though he's got plaid here. So I thought that was very interesting. It's going to be kind of cool to see this. This was a 2-part story that we had done. This was the second cover. Kind of the first one to show him in all his glory and action and stuff. So, some of the motifs were still the same. They gave him a blue coat on this cover when I wanted him to have a white coat, a white dinner jacket. But, it was 1995. Look at that. It's even earlier than I thought. Wow. Boy, how time flies when you're having fun, huh? Let's see, what is this? Does it corroborate up here? Yeah, April 1995. So it was the one before that was it's monthly, right? Yeah. So March of 1995. So, that's interesting. Was that 95, 2020, 25, 27 years ago? Wow. So the reason I wanted to do this was because my entire career has been sort of getting shifted on contributions. And since this thing was coming out, I wanted to set the record straight in case, Hollywood or somebody else tried to lay claim to the origins of this particular version of the penguin. It came about at a dinner with some ideas that I had, and I wrote them down and sent out notes to Darren, the editor or the assistant editor at the time, and to Chuck. And then Chuck and I ended up talking about it and working out some other ideas, but that was the origin points of it. I wonder if any of you guys are going to go see this tonight. Son of Liberty says you need to ask where your check is. There's no checks for this because we don't own the penguin. We didn't create the penguin. We only kind of reworked them, redesigned them. So DC doesn't pay for that. if we came up with this character and called him, the owl or something, that would be a whole nother thing. But yeah, so there's no dough in this for us. Just credit, which is cool. Metals, Movies, and Brewskis must have seen it. He says the Penguin was great in the film too. Awesome. Angela Curry is here. Hello, Angela. Oh, JP Roca saw it. He saw my name. Cool. Tippy Tail McKitty says TSWG would say the new Penguin comes from your mom. TSWG. Not getting that one. Thrim says hail. Leg Kick 1 is here. Hello. Best Batman portrayal yet. Batfleck looks the best, but Pattinson played the best. Oh, interesting. Best Penguin, too. It was quack, quack, quack. Does he really? Phil Juke says, of course they have to steal from Graham. Their lack of creativity is clear for all to see. Well, you know what? They're licensing the characters, and everything that we do, for these corporations are owned by the corporations. And when they license them, they're using that as blueprints. The more they keep from the comics, I think the better the films are. So I think it behooves them to do their research, and try and capture the essence of the character with casting and writing. JP Roca says Ferrel does very good in the movie. He's unrecognizable in that. Gosh, I had seen pictures of that guy, and I thought he was just some gang boss. A, I didn't know it was the Penguin, and B, I had no idea it was Colin Ferrel. So they really made him up good. Do the guys who made Lex Luthor a businessman get paid for the idea? That would be John Byrne. I don't know. I wouldn't think so, because it's Lex Luthor, a pre-existing character that was created, by Siegel and Schuster way back in the day. Angela says 3 hours long. Gonna wait till it comes out on HBO Max. That's what I was thinking too. That's a long time in the seat. Keith Wilson says he saw it Wednesday and hung around to see your credit. Thank you. People are saying hi to Anna, the Star Wars girl. I don't see her in here. Dear Man says, did I see the movie or plan to? No, have not. Yes, I plan to, but probably I'll wait till it's on HBO Max. Jeff Heller says, seeing it tonight, I've heard it's the most accurate Batman comics adaptation yet. It does address one of my biggest complaints of all the Batman films, is that they never really address him as a detective. And I was happy to hear that. The other side of it is it's again one of these dystopian stories with these just everything looks so dreary, and Batman looks dreary. He's not that light of hope. It doesn't appear to be. But again, I'm not going to judge it because I haven't seen it yet. But just from the stuff that I'm seeing, that's the take I'm getting. Why wouldn't they just hire a fat old guy for Penguin? Why go with Colin Ferrel? Well, box office. Big names put asses in the seats. Colin Ferrel has a draw. You'd have to find a fat old guy that can bring people in the theater, I guess. Oh no, you sat and watched it and people had cell phones out. That's one of my pet peeves that I hate about going to movies anymore, is that there's always some idiot that will open up his cell phone to look at his Facebook or whatever, and then you get that glow coming up. And it really takes you out of it. Your average Patriot nerd says, hello, I met you at Rhode Island Comic Con pre-COVID, and I grabbed a few Bane covers from Nightfall, and you signed them. Thanks much, and I'm not letting them go. Haha, I wish I had chatted longer. Those couldn't have been originals. Must have been prints. Have to jet, but we'll have a few bourbons for you, Graham. Everyone have a great weekend. Yes, thank you, Trim. Going out tonight with my daughter and her fiance and my wife, and probably won't have any bourbon there because this place we're going to pours terrible drinks, really cheap. So I'll probably have some nice craft beer. Postmaster Dan says, Batman is a broken man who is lost in his delusions of vengeance. If you ever want to know what Batman's about, you should read the Batman the Animated Series Bible. This is the written outline that all the writers that were going to write for the series had to read to understand who this character is. These guys nail it. One of the first things they say in it is that Batman is not grieving over his parents, that he's not he's not crippled by the death of his parents, and he does not seek vengeance. Batman seeks justice, and that's what makes him heroic. Every one of us can seek vengeance, and if we institute it in a way that meets out that vengeance, we're no better than the bad guys. And now we're talking about fictional characters here. In the real world, yeah, I'd want my vengeance. I'd want my pound of flesh. But we're talking about, the heroic ideals here. And that's what I always loved about Batman, is that the character could live a wonderful life. He's a billionaire, he doesn't, but he sacrifices all of that. He puts all his money into one thing, and that is his war on crime, to prevent something terrible happening to you and me that happened to him. And that's where the heroism of the character and the greatness of the character comes from. And ever since the original Dark Knight, we've got this nihilistic Batman, which I don't care for. There's one thing to be dark and serious, but it's another thing to have the motivations of the character be no better than the bad guys. And that, my friends, is the world we're living in today. Pedro Ang is here, says, hail Graham, hail chat. Pedro has a new book up on Indiegogo. You guys should check it out. HR, symbolism, metaphorical analogy, allegory, old relic, monopoly man with a hint of Rod Steiger. I have no idea what that means. What's my favorite comic or some underappreciated comic? Well, that's sort of a broad question. Comic as a series, comics as a single standalone comic, or a comic um, that's new or old. You know, there's no one favorite comic, or there's not even one favorite series. Uh, if I had to say my current favorite, modern day stuff, I really like Bass Reeves by David Williams, and I've said this before. David Williams and Kevin Grievous. I love that book. He hasn't created the Bruce Wayne persona yet in this film, though I do want to see it in the next film. And the seeds are planted in the end of the film. Oh, that's cool. Well, this is good to know too. JP Roca says that's the conclusion at the end. Batman learns the fundamental flaw of his vengeance focus. All right, well, that's given me hope. Past Master Dan says, you went deep, big guy. That must have been my description of the heroic ideals and stuff. Metal Movies and Brewskis likes what they're doing with the prosthetics on the characters in this film. Cool. Yeah, let's, well, evidently, here we go. Cigar Aficionado. I love this site. Colin Ferrel wanted the character to smoke a cigar. And he tried like hell. He even said, I don't even have to light it. I just want to have the cigar. And he couldn't get the studio to agree to it. You know, the Penguin always had the cigarette holder and all that. But I think for his gangster element, that Ferrell is dead on. He should have had the cigar. In fact, when I look at my original sketch that I showed you guys, I went with the cigarette holder, you know, to kind of lay the groundwork of his origins and his original thing. But I really should have gone full bore and given him a cigar. That would have been cool. But I really like this picture of him here with this, looks like a silk jacket. Very cool. Yeah, I'm anxious to see the character now. Here we go. I think that's photoshopped in there. Because it says he fought for the Penguin to have a cigar. Let's see what he has to say here. We've seen studios clamp down on smoking over the past 20 years, with Disney banning the practice from all its Marvel, Lucasfilm, and Pixar films. Instances of smoking also directly impact a movie's MPAA rating, so it's no surprise that studios aren't eager to have a character puffing away when it's not necessary. Not necessary. You know, they're not going to show a character smoking a cigar like billions of people around the world do and enjoy. But they'll show them shooting you in the head and doing all these other horrible things. And that doesn't affect the MPAA rating. I mean, for God's sake. Again, this is that nonsense, that social justice nonsense. You know, oh, we don't want people to see the Penguin. We want kids to see the Penguin. Well, first of all, kids shouldn't be seeing this. This is rated R, isn't it? And secondly, oh, here we go. Yeah, Colin Ferrel says, it's not as if a bunch of 12-year-olds are going to start smoking Cuban cigars because the Penguin is smoking cigars in a movie. Exactly right. Exactly right. That is so ridiculous. It adds character to him. It adds something to him. And, let's face it, it's a great prop for actors. Look at the classic movies, when everybody was really smoking. They do a lot with cigarettes and cigars, It just adds a lot. It's really, it drives me nuts. It's silliness. They can go around illegally carrying guns, but they don't think, oh, that 12-year-old's going to go around carrying illegal guns now, or shooting them, or kicking them in the head while they're down, which these bad guys do all the time. But no, we can't have the bad guy smoking a cigar. It's not like even Batman smoking it. The hero, the guy these kids are supposed to look up to. No, it's the bad guy can't smoke it either. It's just terrible. Hokasare, what would be the comic you'd recommend for a new reader to lure one in? I'd recommend mine. I'd recommend the Chenoo or Alien Alamo. The Chenoo is a little bit more hardcore. That's sort of a rated R horror. Alien Alamo is close to all ages. There's some swear words in it, a few swear words, but and there's a little bit of kind of cartoony gore. But I would recommend those. I would recommend Bass Reeves. I would recommend Nora's Saga. That's another good one. Unknown Passenger. Penguin has become one of my favorite Batman rogues over the past few years. Penguin was the best part. Great character acting. Okay, cool. The day later says, I have that issue over Graham's shoulder. Okay. Yeah, that's the wrong one. I did it again. There we go. That's the version. That's the first cover with the new Penguin. There was lots of smoking in the Joker movie. There you go. PC culture needs to die. I agree. Ask Bill Clinton. Yes, the infamous Gurkha. The day later says, heck, they could have had him take a puff and cough and say, these things are going to kill me. True. Tara Wombat says, I started smoking with a cigarette holder in the 90s because of Penguin. I got beat up in grade school over it. Well, there's a picture, grade school kid with his cigarette holder. Did I see Sam Elliott's comments about Power of the Dog movie? I did. I thought it was hysterical. I love that guy. He doesn't care. He doesn't give two shits. And I love that that he's so open and honest that he can say what he feels. The guy's been in a ton of westerns. He understands the genre. He's a fan of them. And when they make these new progressive westerns, it upset him. He didn't like it, and he said so. That's cool. Jeff corrects me. Says the Batman is PG-13, though I've heard it's a hard PG-13. They're marketing the Batmobile to kids though, so it doesn't make sense. They always do that. I mean, look at what they did with Batman. What was the second one? Batman Returns, the second Batman movie of Tim Burton's. That one was, they were marketing that to kids with, Happy Meals and all kinds of stuff and toys. And they got the most horrible looking penguin. The Danny DeVito one was just terrifying. The movie opens up with Batman killing bad guys with a machine gun in his car. Yeah, I mean, what the hell are they thinking there? Burgess Meredith will be the Penguin forever. He was great. Loved his Penguin. My favorite was Cesar Romero's Joker, though. I contend that you put that performance, like if somebody was to take little clips of that and work that into, say, a Christopher Nolan film, they don't have to change anything. It works just as well, his performance, because it's just as creepy and bizarre and scary, too. You know, he really comes across as scary at times if it wasn't for some of the camp things going on around. But that's a great one. The day later says Sam Elliott was the best General Ross. Yeah, which one was he General Ross in? Was that the... I can't remember which one he was General Ross. Must have been the first one, right? The one with the Australian actor who first played the Hulk. The Ang Lee Hulk. Thank you, Pedro. You saw me struggling and you came to my rescue like a true hero. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He although he's got that kind of lean, wiry build, whereas the original Ross was more stocky, but he's got that gravitas too, which is awesome. Dale A says, I always thought Danny DeVito in the movie Heist was a better Penguin than his performance in Batman Returns. Huh, I don't think I've seen Heist. Okay. Like I said, hey to everybody in here. Oh, what's this? If they brought Bane in this new Batman series, I hope it's more closer to the character in the books than the previous screen versions. Hardy's wasn't bad, but it wasn't real accurate. Thoughts? Yeah, let's start with the look. That ridiculous mask made absolutely no sense story-wise or for anything that they were trying to achieve. In fact, they had to go and redub everything because in the original test footage that was sent out, it was too muffly. People couldn't understand them, so they had to go back and redo that. Then his personality. Okay, so they change his origin somewhat. They take the venom out of it. They managed to capture the feeling of dread about this guy pretty good, even though they hired an actor that was too small to play him. But with Hollywood tricks, they were able to imply he was bigger than he was. But then we get to the real crux of it, in that everything that they work up that made me say, hey, maybe they got the personality of Bane right. They completely throw out the window when we find out that it's Talia that is actually running the show here. So that Bane is basically just a lapdog for her. So that was the second bad thing. The third was his inglorious death. 1 minute he's there, and the next minute he's getting blasted by a torpedo off of Catwoman's motorcycle, and that's it. Story's over for him. Moving on. So I hated that too. And then there was the inconsistency. He had no venom. The mask thing was supposed to be painkiller for him because of his injuries. But that doesn't explain why he's punching through concrete pillars when he's having the fight with Batman. So like all of a sudden it is like a super steroid. So yeah, not a fan of that movie. Not a fan of that Bane. I'm hoping that someday they'll do it right. That they'll actually maybe CGI Bane when he's all venomed up or something like that. Peter Porte would be a much better Batman. He looks like he was drawn by Don Newton. Oh, I don't have to know who that is, but Don Newton was one of my big influences on my approach to how I drew Batman. In fact, he was probably one of the biggest. Him, Dick Sprang, and the original Bob Kane early Batman drawings, which is what Don Newton sort of modeled his after. You know, the way he did the ears and stuff. But of course, Newton was an incredible illustrator, and he understood the anatomy of the body and everything really well. Great lighting effects, really good. Of course, there was also Jim Aparo in there in my repertoire as I was, figuring out how I was going to handle the character. But Don Newton was one of the big ones for me. Eric Bana. We're back talking about the Hulk there. The makeup over the mustache was off-putting. Who did Romero think he was fooling? Well, if you look at it from another point of view, you've got this psychopath wearing makeup and putting it over his mustache. I think it actually when you see it, it actually goes with who this character is, because he did have makeup on. Oh, here's an easy question. Which Catwoman's the best from the Adam West TV show? Julie Newmar, there's absolutely no comparison. Lee Merriweather was beautiful and good in the Batman '66 film that Newmar couldn't be in, but she didn't have that kind of bad girl sex appeal that Julie Newmar had. Eartha Kitt, wonderful singer. Why she was hired for that role, I don't know. Don't forget to mention that hilarious voice. This is in reference to Bane again. Best Bane actor without CGI would be Nathan Jones. Big lad, but if he's not still in shape, a bodysuit can work. Don't know who he is. But I like that guy from Guardians of the Galaxy as Bane. His name escapes me right now. I'm terrible with names. I'm getting worse as I get older. Any Aparo stories, Graham? What was he like? Jim Aparo was a sweetheart. He was just the nicest guy. Absolutely no ego whatsoever. I used to talk to him once a week. He was a huge Seinfeld fan. And I think Seinfeld was on Thursdays. And whenever the episode was on, I would always call him the next day. And we would talk about the episode and laugh and stuff. I even sent him a shirt of the Kramer. That's the painting of Kramer called the Kramer that he used to wear and get a kick out of. My favorite Jim Aparo story is we were in San Diego, 1993 at Comic-Con. And it's the first and only time Jim Aparo went. The con brought him out because they were going to present him with the prestigious Inkpot Award for his contributions to the art form. And Jim and me and Chuck Dixon and a couple other guys were in the hotel lobby bar, and we were having beers and talking about comics and all that kind of stuff. And this is while the award ceremony is going on, and Jim is in the bar with us just talking and just having a great old time. And a little while later, Archie Goodwin comes out, and he's got Jim's trophy, and he says, Jim, you won an Inkpot Award, congratulations, hands it to him. And he goes, oh, well, thank you, Archie. That's really great. Thanks so much. And he didn't get up. He just stayed there, chit-chatted with us and stuff. Just a real regular guy, Love the man. And so talented. So talented. When he was in his prime, in his heyday, early to basically through the 70s, but the killer period was early to mid 70s. Um, he was untouchable. I mean, he was a better storyteller than Adams. Um, maybe not as good a draftsman, but what he brought was he brought that advertising sensibility, which he learned from working in advertising and from looking at Adams, what Adams was bringing to the table at the time. But then he also brought that Kniff sensibility too into his inks and his black placements and stuff. So I love that marriage of those two different art forms. Just really, really great stuff, and a really, really great guy. Thank you, Keith. Dave Bautista. That's who I was talking about. That's who. If they ask me who should play Bane, I think it should be him. Bautista is a cuck. Well, that may be. That may be. But we don't gatekeep, do we? So if he's the right guy for the job, then he gets the job. Oh, well, yeah. Bjornsson would be a great looking Bane, and he certainly would have the stature for it. But he can't act. He can look menacing, but Bane. The thing about Bane is he's not just he's not just a big, massive guy. He's as intelligent as Batman, and that has to come across as his intelligence. Otherwise, he's just a muscle-bound villain. Marcus Killebrew says he'll watch the replay later. All right, good. Early to mid 70s is his favorite apparel period. Batman should also be a schizophrenic symbolist. Sees bats leasing him. Not sure about the last phrase, but I disagree. He's not schizophrenic. That takes the heroic nature out of the character if he's compromised that way. He knows exactly what he's doing. And it's because he knows what he's doing. And it's because he doesn't have superpowers and he does it anyway. That's what makes him great. Romero's mustache didn't really show up on the older, smaller TV sets. I didn't notice it when I rewatched it in reruns as a kid back in the day. That's completely true. The TV pixel rate, they weren't even pixels. It was a tube, was not that sharp. Now when you watch it in Blu-ray, you can see it, but you really couldn't see it back then. Only in photographs did you notice that, but it was on the TV show you didn't. Brian Blevins. Hey, Brian. I got to watch the media screening of The Batman a week ago. It was very good. I can't wait to hear your review if you do one. I will. I'll do one. Yes, Marcus Killebrew. That short run apparel had on a detective is amazing. Yeah, he also was working with Archie Goodwin, which, one of the greatest writers in comics. He was editing the book at that time too. It had the 60-cent Giants. In fact, my first detective comics was Detective 441, which had a Jim Aparo cover on it. Fantastic cover of this kind of Torquemada judge spilling molten metal off a wall. And Batman is down below and Robin is running out to try and push him away. I asked Jim about that. I said, do you still have that cover, Jim? Because I would buy it from you in a heartbeat. And he said, no, that stuff was long gone. I was ashamed because that would be one of a few holy grails for me to own, to put in my studio, would be that cover. Interesting about that book too is that it had a frontispiece by my future teacher and mentor, Sal Amendola. The main story was written by Archie Goodwin and illustrated by Howard Chaykin, two guys that became friends of mine. It also has a Archie Goodwin, Walt Simonson Manhunter story in it. Again, two guys that became friends with. So that's a very special book to me. Which actor would you want to play Killer Croc? A wrestler? Probably. I wouldn't want them to CGI him because I don't like Killer Croc as this dinosaur guy, basically like they turned the lizard into in Marvel. I liked the Killer Croc that was a circus freak and crime thug, that had this skin condition that made him look like a crocodile. And he was like a circus freak. He used to wrestle alligators or something like that. I like that version of the character better than the over the top, science fiction version that couldn't exist in a real world. Here's an interesting thought. Onto Bane, do you think that Tinseltown prefer to push the trope that those with muscles are mentally diminutive to get back at jocks who bullied them at high school? Well, that's quite the psychological analysis there. You could be onto something. Is this right? Bassmaster Dan says Romero came from the old studio actors where he contractually had to keep his mustache as a trademark. Well, he was known as that Latin lover, so it could very well be. Probably didn't know how popular that show and he was going to be on it either. And is probably thinking, you know what, I might lose jobs if I shave this thing off. No, Bane did not come from Cuba. He came from a fictional Central American island called Santa Prisca. I always get mixed up with Santa Prisca and Penadura. Penadura is the prison. Santa Prisca is the island. Okay, gang. So this was just a quick little shout out here to connect with everybody, talk a little bit about the origins of this new version of the Penguin. I have a dinner date in a little bit that I'm going to have to run for. So I want to thank everybody for coming in and spending a little time here in the Bat Cave with me as we talked about the Penguin. And if you haven't backed Two-Fisted Manly Tales or subscribe to this channel, please do that. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this broadcast. Two-Fisted Manly Tales has one more week before it goes in demand. And I think I'm going to take the signature perk down. That's the one with the brass knuckles. Because I want to get those ordered. I'm going to try desperately to get this fulfilled earlier than promised. Because I want to get this in people's hands so they can enjoy it. And I want to get going on the Ghosts of Metacumba Key. So I got the teams working hard on it, and hopefully we'll get this thing done early. But anyway, if you are interested in that, in this right here, might as well show it, right? Getting this, it's only going to be up another week, I think, and then I'm going to take it down. So hop on that, my friends, because this on your shelf, you need this on your shelf. What a great conversation starter, particularly in your office if you work in an office. So have a great weekend. And if you're going to the movie, I hope you guys enjoy it. And we'll catch you next time, probably Monday on the Kings. So have a great weekend, everybody. Bye-bye.